How's it guys? Hope you well. In today's tutorial I'll be showing you a thing in SQL that's called table value parameters. So you might be wondering, what is a table value parameter? Well, a table value parameter is basically from your C# side passing a list, and then SQL will get that list and basically iterate through that list and do all of the updates. So from your front end or your API C# logic, you don't have to create a for each statement and call your update method or your insert method. It's just too tedious, so we use table value parameters to basically pass a list directly to SQL, and SQL will then receive that list and do its operations, be it insert, update or delete. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so this is a basic C# application that I've created. This is my app settings file, app setting.development. It has a connection string to my database, my data source, my database name, my username, password, and same applies for the app settings file, data source, database, username, password. So I've created a nice little class here in the models folder, which is called vehicles. So this vehicles is basically an exact match to my database structure. So in my database table I have 3 columns: vehicle ID, which is the primary key, that's why I have the data annotation on top, make, and year. Then I've created a view model because we're going to have a list of vehicles, and then I have a property of list vehicles, and I have this extensions class which basically converts that list into a TVP, which is a table value parameter, and then passes this to my SQL stored procedure, which then gets it in this back end of the database and does the manipulation. If you have a look at my home controller, as you can see in the index method, I've instantiated my view model because I'm going to be saving that list and passing it to my stored proc. So I've basically created a list of vehicles: Toyota, Mercedes, McLaren, Subaru, and then I've assigned this to that view model list. Then what we're doing over here is we're basically calling that table value parameter extension method, and we're passing in that vehicle list. We're also stating that we want to remove the primary key column from my table, because the way it works is that we have to exclude the primary key column. Then I'm using Dapper. With Dapper we basically get our connection string from our app settings file. We then use connection.query, which is a Dapper method. Query is a Dapper method. Bool basically to say whether this was successful or not successful. Pass in the stored procedure name and pass in the name of the TVP, which is vehicle TVP. I will show you guys now my database creations, and this syntax will always be the same. Okay, moving over to the database, as you can see I've created a basic table that's called vehicle. It has 3 columns: vehicle ID, make, VIN, year. Then I've created a TVP. I had a nice little comment for you guys here: when creating a type, always exclude the primary key column. So as you can see, my primary key vehicle ID is excluded from the type. So the only 2 properties that I have here is make and year. And then I've created my stored procedure, which basically accepts the parameter, which is the TVP, from the C# side, as you can see here. It then goes and does an insert into my vehicle table from the TVP itself. So if I select everything from my vehicle table, ideally it should be null, okay, as you can see. Oh, my apologies. I've actually excluded VIN number out of here, so you can see it's only vehicle ID, which is the primary key, make and year. So if I actually execute this program, it's going to insert Toyota, Mercedes, McLaren, Subaru all at once without me actually doing something like for each and var item in vehicle view model dot vehicle list. So ideally we would have done this, and then we would call our stored proc. We would say, okay, just let me copy this for fast forwarding purposes. Then we would say connection dot post, or what would it be, connection dot query, yeah, so query bool. Oh, so it would basically have been this here. So we would done a for each statement, and then each and every time we would have passed this. So we don't do this with table value parameters. We just pass in the entire list. This method here actually converts that into a TVP, and SQL will interpret that for you. So if I execute this now and I look at my database, okay, so this here means successful, it should run. So if I select all from vehicle, we can see we have 4 new rows. Okay, that's it for table value parameters. Thank you guys, enjoy your day.